Welcome to the Living Ageless and Bold podcast. Each episode, I bring you amazing women who inspire, educate, and share their experiences and journeys along the way. So grab a glass of wine or a cup of coffee, find a cozy spot, and let's relax and have some fun hearing what can be accomplished after 55. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Living Ageless and Bold. And my guest today is definitely living ageless and bold. Malaysia Harrell, she's a distinguished psychotherapist. I always get nervous when I have the psychotherapist on, like, don't analyze me. Spiritual transformation coach. She is a veteran. Let's all thank her for her service. She empowers women, especially those over 50. She's won incredible awards, including the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. And she advocates for living our lives authentically, fully, turning dreams into reality and helping women find, passion and freedom and fulfillment later in life. Malaysia, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so blessed to be here today.
Oh my gosh, you have quite a storied career. And I always like to go back a little bit because you didn't just wake up as a psychotherapist and you were a veteran. So maybe that's how the career started. So I always like to share the journey for our younger listeners so they can see what's possible later in life.
I love that. Yes, I grew up in a town in Springfield, Massachusetts, and during my childhood, I experienced a lot of childhood trauma, and like many others. And I just wanted to really, go into the mental health field to kind of look at helping others because I know what I went through. And so it started there even before the military. And I decided I started really with the prison system. And so I was a correctional counselor. I was a correctional counselor, but before that, I was a correctional officer. And I wanted to do prison reform. And I ended up moving. I had started at the University of Connecticut for my School of Social Work. And then I moved and I transferred to Maryland and the University of Maryland, Baltimore, and 9/11 happened. However, I had a history with being in a uniform. I was in junior ROTC and I did 2 years of ROTC in college. So I did 1 year of Air Force, 1 year of Army ROTC, but it was like, I was like, it took up all my youth years. I was in, you know what I mean? So I got out of it. And then, when the tragedy happened, of course, it really brought me back. And I felt, you know what? I can give back to my country and serve while I'm performing and providing services to military members, veterans, and their families. So, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So you did psychotherapy work while you were in the military?
Right. Yeah.
Wow. Good for you. I mean, that's and we know now, we didn't know back then, but the whole mental health and, especially with military. Okay. So you do that, you spend your time in the military,
right.
And then what's the next chapter?
Well, I recently retired. But
Wait,
I have to say this.
What age did you retire at?
Well, I was 49 at the time and I just turned 50 in December.
Okay. Woo.
Yes.
Well, happy birthday.
Yes. And I just want to be transparent about, because I had gotten sick in 2020. I had a near-death experience. And a lot of people, especially military members or people who are just dedicated to their craft, their career field, something happens that catapults you, and kind of turns your whole life around. And it seems dim and it seems dark. And then, things happen and they actually shift you into something better that you didn't even dream of. And so I was a dedicated person. I've been dedicated to a life of service. I will always serve. But I thought, I can't, if I don't serve in uniform, then what am I going to do? But I had a near-death experience in 2020 after deployment. And ultimately, I had a medical retirement in 2020, last year. And now I'm able to be here with you. I probably would not have been here with you had that not happened. So, yeah.
So what is it that inspired you to take on this new role to empower women over 50? Like, I know for me, I was thinking about this podcast and I was embracing women our age. And
Yes.
there was a certain anchor on TV who mentioned a woman his age, 56, and said she was past her prime and he was the same age. And I thought, and my husband jokes about it too. He's like, I could just see your brain exploding. I'm like, that's it.
Yes.
I'm launching this podcast,
Yes.
which has been amazing. So what is it that something clicked with you that you knew that women over 50 need this inspiration and they needed you to help get them over the hump?
Well, I'll tell you, when people who go through things in their life, you know, it may be a divorce, it may be a medical thing, a tragedy, anything that kind of puts us in a negative light or in darkness. And we're wondering, how are we gonna, get through? How, we've built our life on this and now this is no longer. And so you have that shift. And so it's like, how are we going to do this? Well, I said to myself, if I survived, that means I'm supposed to be here. I still have a life that I can provide service. But guess what? Why not do something that lights me on, not only lights other people on fire, but lights me on fire as well. And so I know that a lot of times our voices are unheard in many different situations. And so just giving, a voice to the voiceless, being here to help other people on their journey, because people don't always know what that next step is. And that's a big critical part of it. And even for myself, it was like, I was kind of set up for success though, because I have, I had built a life of so many connections and mentors and people, but not everybody has that. So guess what? We're here to make sure that people have that support as they go on their journey. But if you have a chance to start life over, it may seem dim, it may seem bleak, but I'm going to tell you what, you better do it even better than you did it last time.
And that's so true. One of my past guests is an author, Joanne Lippman, and she wrote a book called Next. And it's exactly what you said. It's fascinating. And the people that she interviewed in the book, but it is, and there's all kinds of data and research about this. But when you have a divorce, a near-death experience, when you have a crisis in life, it's that pivot and that shift. And what are you going to do with it? That's right. And so you had the experience, but did you feel like you had some obstacles? I mean, I know you said I had a support system, I had connections, I had this, but something made you want to help those women who don't have it? Was it somebody that you knew or?
Yes. Well, no, it's funny because I've been a psychotherapist. I've helped, we've helped so many people all these years. Right. But when I was in a situation where I didn't know if I was going to live and I was in so much pain, 254 pounds. I was on oral chemo, prednisone. I had all these issues, 9 surgeries over the past 4 years. I really questioned God, like, how do I really want to live at this point? We've helped everybody else, but I'm like, I can't do life like this. And so with that, I said, what could I do to make sure that someone who has either gone through that or who's going through a shift. I just felt like it was so important because a lot of women, we wear this badge of honor, that we help everyone else. We're wives, we're mothers, we're aunties, we're community leaders. And so when something happens to us, you try to call somebody for help, they're telling you their problems. You don't even have the safe space to even talk because they can't even believe that you're talking like this. And so that was really tough. So I'm glad you asked me that because I need to be honest, but I think it even made me better as a professional at what I do because actually going through it and having the evidence-based practices and the clinical acumen, like it's just so much better now and I can relate a lot better to be able to support my clients and people that I work with. So
I always say the mothership can't go down. Like
I love
rather,
that.
right?
That's right.
I had broken my foot, and my husband's like, your foot is broken. I'm like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Until 3 weeks later when I could barely move. My foot was broken, but it does, Mom, I'm working, I'm taking kids to
Right.
sports, I'm cooking dinner. I mean,
That's right.
that's what we do.
That's
And
right.
you're right. And then to then find the time for ourselves.
That's right.
And so one of the things I find through this podcast, and I'd love your take on this and to help the women listening, these women over 50, maybe they had kids, now they're an empty nest, maybe they worked, maybe they didn't work, but it is a huge transition when, okay, we realize now at 50, we're not our grandmother's 50.
That's right.
We can start all over again. That's right. And hopefully you have a little nest egg that you can, be like, okay, it'll be okay. I can see if this is going to work or not.
Yes.
What's some advice you give women our age who have an itch? They see a need, they're really excited, but then they're, do I do it? Do I not do it?
Yes.
Imposter syndrome. There's a lot of things that
There's
go on in our brains, right?
You're right. There is so much that go, and then not even our own brain, right? So we're already thinking like, how am I going to do this? People are going to think, oh, she's having a midlife crisis. You hear that kind of stuff, or she's in menopause brain, like what's going on? And so you're already doubting yourself. And then you have the people around you who are not putting that energy to say, yes, try something new. Not for everybody, but for a lot of women that I work with and that I talk to, it is the case. People can't believe like you're doing something different because they've always had access to you to support them through their stuff. And so they can't see you outside of their vision. But one thing that I think is important is to just take time for yourself, because even for me, like just jumping from one thing to the next, it's like a matter of self-discovery. So one of the things I recommend is actually just doing what you love. What are some of the things that you did as a child, that you danced, you did artwork, you painted, you were a writer? Because I was a writer. And so that's what I turned back. I wrote my book because I had to do something that, just kind of fueled my soul and helped to heal my inner child while I was going through that experience. And once you start that, then things will start to flow, because I know many of us are like, okay, I can have so many stickies. Yeah. I have checklists all over. Put the checklist down for a moment when it comes to you and just do what you love. And what happens is that creative brain and that, more of your spiritual side and that energy really starts to come out, and you'll see, and then you'll just start thinking, well, you know what? This is what I really like, because we think, oh, I did this and I was working for someone else, so I still need to do that while, I start my own thing. And that's not necessarily the case.
I love that you brought that up. My aunt worked for, till she retired, 55, 60. I can't remember. She was a shopping center manager, like ran the whole mall, like such a cool job.
Yeah.
Well, when she retired, all of a sudden she realized she could paint. And she went to art classes and started painting. And then she started making jewelry. And she's going to be 90 this year. She's still painting. She's still making jewelry. She sells her jewelry, sells her artwork, and started, in her late 50s, early 60s. So don't be afraid. And I love that you recommend going back to what you love.
Yes.
And it's interesting. I'm taking a writing class right now, and every Friday we meet, and I have so much content, and I've written 2 books, but I love to write. I love to tell stories. Yes. And I'm really excited that, that now I might get paid to write articles, going back to something that I really enjoy doing.
Yeah. Oh, that's so exciting. We're aligned in that way, because writing is really the key to the soul, right? Because you're thinking from your inner self. It's not just your mind at that point, because who has time to write? So when you're doing it, you're really connected with yourself and your soul. And so it's very important. I actually started writing for a magazine as well. So I get to put out these lovely articles. We get to put out books, and it's just whatever you want to do. But if you're looking for clarity, I say to start there, because we get in our brain and we're like, oh, I'm good at this. I can do this. but you don't love it. You've been doing medical for this many years and it's so draining for you. And we have limited amount of medical people in the medical system and it's just tiring, right? You're seeing 20 patients a day. You're like, no, I just want to do something completely different, but that'll help you get in the mind frame of figuring it out.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And what do you think about, like there's all kinds of organizations and groups where these like-minded women can come together.
Yes.
Because you brought that up. I mean, there are toxic people in our families that we can't just get rid of. Well, you know this, right? You're a psychotherapist. You've seen a lot of this.
Oh yeah. From the prison system to child welfare, to military child welfare and mental health and substance abuse. I've seen it. I've seen it all. I worked on death row.
Wow.
Yeah, before I went into the military. And so the biggest thing is, again, just taking that time for you because, you get anxiety thinking about, oh my goodness, because there is a sense of grieving. You're grieving who you were at the last version of yourself, your past life. It's almost like a rebirth. And birth is painful for everybody, right? It is. It's a real rebirth. And so now you're grieving, I used to do this and I get brain fog now. Or, my joints, I did all these races and my joints hurt, And so you're already grieving the loss of yourself and your identity, the identity that you had. And now you think, well, I don't want to be alone because I'm going to lose all these people. But that's not actually the case. What happens is the world just opens up for you. Like, you don't even have to say anything. There doesn't have to be this, oh, let me send this long letter or let's have this sit down conversation, like we're on a talk show. Sometimes it just happens where, I no longer talk to a lot of people as often. You know what I mean? And so I know, okay, talking with my mom, I know I'm going to feel some kind of way. I don't talk to her as much. I'll send her care packages so I can still love them, but I could love them from afar. Yeah.
And I love what you just said because I went through this. So I owned a retail store with my best friend, coolest job ever, loved it. I mean, we had the best time. It was successful from the minute it opened, which never happens in business. I mean, it was fabulous.
Yes.
But after 10 years, I got burned out. I had missed anyone who does retail, you make your money from Thanksgiving to Christmas. Those 6 weeks is your profit. That's it. Yeah. The rest of the year, you're like, can I pay the electric bill? So I was burned out. So I'm like, okay, my kids need me. So I sold the store to my best friend and it was like, rip the Band-Aid off. Cause that's was my social life. I mean, I was there 8 hours a day.
Wow.
Well, then when I go to tell my kids, oh, mommy's going to be home, they both start sobbing. And they said, well, what are we going to tell our friends you do? If you don't own the store, like my entire identity, including within my family, was stripped away from me.
That's right.
And that was hard. Mm-hmm. That was so you're absolutely right about that. And I'd love to talk more about that because that took me a long time to get over. That was my identity. That's who I was. And when I did it for my kids and they were like, no, go back like that.
Right.
So how do we get, I probably should have gone to therapy after that and talked this through, but how do you get over that when you're right, especially if you've done corporate for 25 years, you have a girlfriend who just retired, her only job from college. Yep.
Wow.
And she's 57.
Wow.
And hugely successful on Wall Street, like probably one of the most powerful women on Wall Street. Yeah. And I'm like, is she gonna be okay? Like, what is she?
Yeah.
And she has plans for next, but that's a big part of you.
It is. And here's the thing, because imagine being a captain/colonel, depending on which service you're in, you're getting a paycheck, you're highly regarded, you worked, with the White House, you work for the Surgeon General of the United States, and now you're Joe Schmo. Like, you knew that you were going to be retiring at some point, but I thought, I got 10 more years in me. So it's even worse for the people who thought, hey, I got some more time, and you were saying earlier, you may have a nest egg. You may not have a nest egg, but guess what? Do you have to buy everything that you pay for in your whole life? No. But here's the thing. So what got you here is still in you. It doesn't leave. And so those skills and all the things that you learned all those years are now prepping you. So it's like, I don't know if it was a book, but there was something that I did with one of my coaches, and it was called Yes and. You know how we start, but I can't do this, but I can't do this, but. So how about, yes, I have this experience as a retail provider. I own this company. Yes. And now I have the ability to do this now that I have this skill set. So it's still inside you. It doesn't ever leave, but it helps to bring you to that next level. So now it actually puts you on another platform for success, because guess what? The things that you learn there, now you have the most successful podcast, because all of that is part of business. It's part of marketing. You needed all of that to do what you're doing now.
Oh, and you're so right. You don't see it in the moment, but I ended up a year later inventing a product. Yeah, I did. And I won Steve Harvey's Top Inventor competition on his TV show. And that got me to PR because I got so good at the PR. So you're right. But you have to be open. And I want everyone listening and watching to remember that. If a door closes, if you're not looking for the open window,
that's right,
you're going to miss it.
That's
and
right.
You have to be open for that. And you have to be open to failure, because you're never going to have success if you don't fail.
That's right.
You're not. You have You have to experience it. You have to feel what that feels like, or success will never matter to you.
Yes. And you're so right. When you said something you said just now, one door closes, but that window is going to open, and you're going to be ready for that window. Just imagine, we've been in fight or flight. We've been on survival mode, working so many hours, but now you can fly. Wow. Like, that's profound. The window's opening, not a door, the window. So now I can fly. So that's how I feel now. It's so exciting. So 6 weeks after, maybe within 4 to 6 weeks after I retired, I was meeting with Howard Schultz.
Huh? What?
At the table with Howard, 2 seats. He's right here at the end of the table. One person, his PR person here, and I'm right here.
Well, how did that happen? What is that all about? And for those of you who don't know who Howard Schultz is, the founder of Starbucks. And that's a fabulous book. His book, if you want a good business read. It is. How does that happen?
So, this is the thing, be open to the unfolding. So before I retired, I got with this organization called IVMF. It's the Institute for Veteran and Military Families. And they have all these entrepreneur programs. Cause again, I'm used to getting a paycheck. I started my business in 2017, my holistic wellness business, but I didn't do anything with it. I was working full time, but I did workshops here and there and different things and speaking in the community, but it wasn't until this happened. So I'm like, oh shoot, like now I have to do this. And so IVMF, actually, I did several of their programs, and I was part of one of the projects that they put on, one of the events that they put on. And so they get a lot of people like that who come and want to, really invest and kind of sow seeds into veterans as far as entrepreneurship. And he came to meet with us. So it was about maybe 10 people in the room. But I'm like, really? I really wouldn't have been doing that. But also that gave me a glimmer when you talked about the window opening. That gives, again, when you are open to the unfolding, it's going to happen in such a magical way that you won't even understand. And so now I'm able to see how this man thinks, and he thinks outside of the box. You established a product. You see what I mean? So now you get connected. Now I'm connected with you. So it's just amazing how this happens.
But you're right. But you have to be open to it.
Yes.
You have to be open to it.
Yes.
And I don't know if I've ever told this story on the podcast, but I was supposed to be on Shark Tank season 2. Now Shark Tank's been around forever at this point, but I have gone through the application process. The producers love me. I joke. It went, Mark Burnett loved me. It went to him. I got the sign off. Okay. It got to ABC Sony, and they said no, because again, we have to remember this is season 2. They don't know the show is going to explode like it has.
Right.
Season 1 had a product. So my product that I invented was fashion accessories for medical boots. And season 1 had an add-on to cowboy boots. And they thought, it's too similar. We're only doing 8 shows a season at that point. So I get the call and they tell me, sorry, Christina, you're not. I mean, I have my outfit picked out at this point for the show that I'm going to be on. Oh my goodness. I cried for 3 days. Literally. I remember my kids' friends coming over and they're like, Mrs. Daves, are you okay? I'm like, I'll be okay. I'll be okay. I just have to get through this. I was crushed. Fast forward 5 months. It was April. Fast forward to October, November. I got the Steve Harvey opportunity, which changed my life. Wow. Literally, I won $20,000. I didn't have to give any money away. It put me on the map. He had me back on 3 times. 3 times. It was unbelievable. Wow. So it's okay to feel the pain, to cry. It is. And cry for a whole weekend. I did. Yeah. But then you got to pick yourself up. That's right. And be looking for that open window. And it took a long time. And I was getting really depressed. I mean, it was 5 months and I kept asking the universe, I'm like, I am working my butt off. That's right. What more do you want from me? And I'm not kidding you. The next morning I got this email. I had sent in a media query that I didn't know that it was Steve Harvey. And I got the call. They're like, we really want to talk to you. Wow. So you have to be open to things and allow yourself the possibility. The universe is an amazing thing. Oh, it is. If you let it be.
Oh man, the law of attraction, law of assumption, manifestation. Oh, that's where I live. I live in that land. And again, like you said, like you were upset about that. And then now you got this bigger opportunity. Somebody else didn't own your company at that or own a portion of your company, because I'm sure you have to do things, their way. The other thing that's really important about this is we ask the universe, we ask God for all these things, but are we prepared to keep it? Right. And so you had, a whole life or part of your life in retail. So you have an idea, but imagine, I want to have this today. I want to make 1 million sales today. Are you going to be alive to be able to get through it because you're so sick and you can't, and you're stressed out and customers are calling you and they're complaining about the mail and they didn't get there on time? Are you ready for ask, but ask to be prepared to receive whatever you're asking for as well.
It's such a great point. I met a woman through, networking things, an incredible entrepreneur, and she had the opportunity to be in O Magazine. They love, one of Oprah's favorites. That's right. And she turned it down because she said, I can't handle she was not at the level that she needed to be to handle the manufacturing. Yes. And she had to turn it down, but it probably kept her in business, because you're absolutely right. You see that and you get that big opportunity, but are you ready for it?
Are you ready? Imagine getting to this point and you're on Steve Harvey show 3 times and you're getting millions of orders all over the world and you can't provide. So I'd rather be ready for it. That doesn't mean she can't call them back later when she is scaled up or maybe, she'll get an investor and then they could scale up or whatever. She'll have time. And maybe it's not meant for, it could be something else. Like you said, you didn't know
something better,
where something better than it was before. And so I'm really excited. Yeah. I love this conversation.
So if you could give one piece of advice to everybody listening who's in a transition, and I know you said go to what you loved, but how do you make it tangible? Like what's one piece of advice that somebody can take away that they've gone back to painting or jewelry making or something and they're feeling free?
Yes.
But then what's that next step?
So the next step, and this is super, super important. We talked about the inner child. We talked about connection. But honestly, the biggest thing, I wrote a book called God Has My 6. You need to really explore whatever that spirituality practice is for you and getting connected with the divine, whatever that means for you. It doesn't have, I have clients come to me and they're like, I need to go back to church. Okay, you can have church at home. Like, it's not about the building. It's about what's inside of you.
Yeah.
And so once you feel connected, you will start to get messages. You will start to get, the answers to the questions that you need answered will come to you, and they'll be so specific that you know that it was something that came to you. And the same thing like you, that was so specific after you didn't get this other opportunity. And you're like, God, what, divine universe, what do I need to do? And, I'm doing all this work. What is it? And it's like, no, I have something else for you. But you have to get clear and keep that, because guess what? When you ask for things will come to you, right? The apple in the tree, that's poisonous, and that's not good for you. And so what happens is, again, you need to be protected. All the decisions, because we're all excited. Oh, somebody's going to give me this money and then they take your company from you. You know what I mean? So that's the biggest part, is getting connected with your spiritual self, really getting messages, really tuning in, and then working on your inner healing journey, because you've accumulated all these things from all these years. And now there's the shedding part that comes off, just like the snake sheds, right? Every whatever, so many years or whatever. So you're now shedding your baggage and your things that you went through in order to make room for what you're asking for.
Yeah, such great advice. Malaysia, where can people learn more about you and what you do and how you work with women?
Yes, so you can follow me on all platforms. Malaysia on Instagram is the primary one, Malaysia H. Harrell, and also www.malaysiaharrell.com. I do have a community, Dream Life Manifested, along with a YouTube page, Dream Life Manifested, where I work with people who are trying to, find that next step in their journey and basically live the life of your dreams. Because I think it's very difficult sometimes when you do have dreams that other people can't see. And so you need people around you, like we were talking about, and having a circle. I'm in several masterminds. I have clients in my mastermind, but it's very important to stay connected. If you do need support, which you will, around people who are in that same space, and they can really sow seeds into each other.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So great. Yeah. So great. So anybody know someone who's in this transition phase, share this episode with them, make sure that they listen and follow Malaysia, because I love your energy too. It's so.
Oh, thank you. You too.
So I ask my guests the same questions at the end of every episode. You just turned 50, so I'm not going to do the first one. Okay. But where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Ooh, in 10 years, I see myself, I call myself a philanthropist and a wellness mogul, but I see myself being able to provide services to people and support on a very large scale. So, I want to open up a wellness resort that people like us can come to and have all the naturopathic medicine, the wellness, the meditation, the spirituality, the physical fitness, and just really have a safe space that you can really thrive, and then be treated like a king, like a queen. You know what I mean? So that is one of the big things. And also I founded a nonprofit, the Malaysia Harrell Foundation, where we support veteran women in providing holistic wellness services. I think it's really important to look at things holistically, your finances, your body, your mind, your spirit. So not just one thing most people concentrate on the funds. And so that's not where we need to be. But I really want to be able to bring people together, have retreats that are international. So you have people who are communing together from all different walks of life, because I think it's really important. The more you learn about others, the more you'll learn about yourself.
Oh, that's so true. And I'll have to have you back. We'll have a whole holistic conversation.
Absolutely.
I love the wealth and finance. And so Malaysia Harrell, thank you so much for joining me today. Everyone, check her out online and you'll learn so much more. We only can go through so much in 30 minutes. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening or for watching this episode of Living Ageless and Bold. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit subscribe. And if you like the episode, I hope that you will give us a great review. You can also head over to livingagelessandbold.com and sign up for information, inspiration, and exclusive opportunities for us, women over 55. Thanks for listening. And remember, no matter what you do, keep living ageless and bold.